All right, so our goal today is just real quick give you sort of an idea about how to run when you're making these vinyl cutouts. So let's say today I want to make a cat vinyl cutout. That's going to be my cutout for drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start thinking about how can I make like a cat face. So, maybe I start with sort of a circle. Okay, not a big deal. And then, well, I need some ears. So maybe I will sort of draw a little triangle, and I'm going to go ahead maybe narrow it down a little bit, stretch it out. Not really sure what I want to do here. Something like that. Basically, I'm just sort of, there we go. So we get kind of a cat ear. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to flip it. So there we go. We've got a couple of cat ears. And then maybe I need a nose. So I want a little triangle. I'm going to turn it over and say maybe put that there and make it stand out so I can see it. Make it white. Maybe make it just a little bigger. And then we need maybe a couple of eyes. So we'll draw a little circle. And again, I'm filling these with white just so they stand out. Copy that, duplicate it. So we've got a couple of eyes, and then maybe we need a smile or something. So we do that. Oh, mess that up. So do that like there. So we've drawn a little smile. Now, what we talked about, let me zoom in here a little bit. What we talked about is that the vinyl cutter can't actually cut this line. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to make it a little bigger. I'm going to make it say 10 pixels. And well, let's say I want to make the ends of it rounded. Okay. So the joins and the ends are rounded. And now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go up to modify, and I'm going to go to path. And I'm going to convert this to, say, a raw path. And then convert it to an outline. Now, my border was 10, so I'm going to make this a 5, so it's going to expand 5 on each side. And then I can come back in, I can remove the border. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it with white. And then position it kind of where I want it, okay? So now what I have to do is I have to look at how do these lines all interact with each other. So I'm going to create a layer, and I'm going to take all of these, and I'm just going to start dropping them into this layer. And the reason I'm doing this is so that I can go and see how the layers line up in the outline mode. So I've dropped them all into this layer, and you notice I'm doing it backwards so that when I open it up, it ends up in the same order. And on this layer, I'm going to look at outlines. So if I look at this, right now my big issue are these ears, okay? They're doubled up. So what's going to happen is this. I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to grab just those shapes. So I've got my 2 ears and my circle head, and I want to create a single shape out of those. So to do that, I'm going to use my shape finder, my compound shape, and I'm going to join them together. Okay, and you notice it cuts them apart. So now when I look at my outlines, I've got just that outer line, and that's what I want. So what I can do with this now is I can send this to the cutter, and that's what we're about to do. So in order to send it to the cutter, you have to submit an SVG file. So real quick, to do that, I'm going to go ahead, come up here, I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Export, and I'm going to come down here to Scalable Vector Graphics, or SVG. Click the button, and it says, hey, it's going to save as an SVG. I'm just going to drop it on my desktop, and I'm just going to call this cat face. Okay, so that's saving, and now you'll have submitted that SVG to me in Classroom. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to do a couple of things and produce it. So I'm going to pause and we'll be right back. All right, so we're back. We're going to look at sort of the second half of creating our vinyl cutout. So while we were paused, what I did is I took that SVG file, I sent it over to the printer, and it produced this. Okay, so this is just a piece of purple vinyl. And if you look closely, you should be able to see that, there we go, there's a good angle, that cat face has now been scribed on it by a little knife, okay? And what's neat about this is that I've done a couple of copies of it. It's actually cut into the vinyl in such a way that we can now separate the vinyl from the piece. So you've got these, and so I'm just going to I've got a little X-Acto knife, and I'm going to start peeling these. And I'm going to peel two of them because I'm going to do two versions. So when we talk about these vinyl stickers, we talk about positive versus negative space. So the first one we're going to do is going to be a positive space. That means that the actual image is a positive or a solid image. And to do that, what we'll do is remove the pieces of vinyl that create that positive image. So there we go. We have a positive image of the cat face cut out. And that was just by making sure that we combine those outer shapes. Remember, if we hadn't combined our circle with our triangle ears, there'd be cuts right here. And we don't want those because that would mean that this ear would peel away. The second option is to look at what's called a negative space image. And to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to remove sort of the opposite pieces. So in this case, I'm going to create a negative image by removing the frame. And then I'm going to remove the inner piece of the cat face, so the circle portion, while leaving the eyes, nose, and mouth. So now, once again, we have the same image that's been turned into a negative aspect. Okay, and these are both equally valid things that you can do with them. Now, the question becomes, what do you do with these after this? So the next step is to actually tape them up. And so what we have is something called transfer tape, and it's basically a specialty version of Scotch tape, essentially. Okay, and what it allows us to do is turn these stickers from a solid object that's stuck here into something we can move to another surface. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just lay this on here. I'm going real quick, so I'm not probably doing the best job I've ever done on this. And basically we attach this tape to it, and I'm going to cut it off, set that aside. So now I've got this right here, and these have tape on top of them. So what we can do then is cut them out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm literally just trying to get them off of the backer. So we've got sticker number one. Now this one's a little different. I actually made a mistake because I didn't make sure that the tape covered all this, but we can work with that. So I'm going to cut it in this frame area. And it's not going to hurt anything either way, the way I'm doing this. So we end up with these two stickers. And then what we need is something to attach them to. So for my purposes today, what we're going to attach these to is this wonderful bottle of cleaning wipes. So there are two versions of this. So the first one with this positive image, with the transfer tape, what happens is that the transfer tape is sticky enough that the vinyl will stick to the tape better than the vinyl sticks to this backer paper. And so we peel it off and we're left with a sticker on there. We come over to our object that we want to put this on, lay it on, and we're going to smooth it down. Now, normally what you'll do is you'll use something like a thin piece of plastic, something like a credit card, something like that. And you sort of smooth it down onto it. The official thing we use is called a squeegee, which I don't have in front of me, unfortunately, so I can't show you. But you push this down, and now what you do is you take this tape and you slowly peel it away. And what happens now is that the adhesive on the vinyl will stick to the surface better than the tape. The transfer tape sticks to the vinyl. So you can peel this away and you get your image attached to an object. Okay, and obviously you notice I went way too fast. I've got a crease in my image. Not a big deal. And we can do the same thing with our negative. Okay, now in this case, it's too big to fit here, so I'm going to go ahead real quick. I'm just going to cut it down a little bit to make it a little easier to fit. Once again, normally you measure your surfaces before you create these, so you don't have this kind of an error. And so now, once again, I'm peeling this away, and you'll notice that eye didn't want to stick. So I'll push it back down until it sticks. Okay, not a big deal. This kind of work is actually really forgiving. So I end up with our negative face. I'm going to come over here to the other side. And once again, real gently lay it out and run it all the way across. Push it down. And again, I've got this weird curve because the actual bottle is curved. And again, planning ahead, you'd cut it to the correct size so that you wouldn't have to deal with that if you could help it. But we'll come back in here, and now we need to peel off our transfer tape, which is hard to get under. So I'm going to take this knife and try and get in between the transfer tape and the vinyl. There we go, we're getting there. There we go. So I slowly peel this away, and I just make sure that when I cross over things like the eyes, that it doesn't peel them away. And there we go. So our sticker's attached to that. But that's the basics of how these vinyl stickers are made and attached. So remember, what you're really focusing on is, are the shapes contiguous so you don't have extra lines? And that's what you want to focus on, is making sure that you don't have extra lines, because the vinyl cutter will just cut those lines as you go. But that's the basics, and hopefully that helps you think about what you have to connect and combine to create these basic videos. Or excuse me, not videos, create these basic images.